Throughout history, we've had natural disasters that affected us as a nation, but also impacted us on a local and even personal level. The Great Flood of 1913, for example, devastated communities throughout the eastern and central U.S. and hit Ohio hard. The Ohio River Flood of 1937 had a much more localized impact. The Ohio History Connection received a collection from a family who lived in Portsmouth back then, and their letters give us insight on that momentous time. Here's that story.
When you visit any museum, there are always collections on display, but a lot of times their collections are in storage that the public cannot see. Well, today we're at the Ohio History Center where they're opening their vault for us to look at one of their collections. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have for us. So Wendy, we're here at the Ohio History Center. Can you set up the collection we're looking at today?
Yes, this is one of our manuscripts collections, and it dates from 1937. And it documents the experience of several family members during the 1937 flood in Portsmouth, the Ohio River flood. And what's really fun and special about it to me is how small it is, because it just gives like one window of how families like working through this event.
I think most people have heard of the 1913 flood, not as much about the 1937 flood. So can you just set it up for us a little bit more about the history of it, how long it lasted, and you said it's Portsmouth, did it go into other areas as well?
Yeah, the Ohio River flood really at the very beginning of 1937, so January it starts raining and it keeps raining and it keeps raining, and really there's no relief for those river communities. So Wheeling, West Virginia through Cincinnati is hit really hard, and Portsmouth is right there in the thick of it. And what we see here, the letter is dated from January 21st, and it's really Mary Kimball watching as her city is kind of being engulfed and flooded. The Kimball family actually lives a little bit up from the river, so they're on a hill. But she describes going downtown to watch the flood wall, and eventually when they decide to open the floodgates and flood downtown, she describes that as well. So it's like a position of safety for her immediate family, and then concern over the long term. And then what you see in this letter is also a sense of, well, when will this end? If this was 1913 by now, the rain would have stopped. We would have blue skies, and that's not happening. So the waters are rising and rising and rising, and they like slowly crest. And I think it's like right here on Tuesday, she says the flood is 73 feet and it's still rising. I think it crests at 74 feet, and we're at about 13, 14 feet above the flood wall at that point.
That's amazing that you have this letter. Now, who was she writing this letter to?
So she's writing to her sister. Another interesting thing about this collection is that this family only lived in Ohio for, from what I can tell, maybe about 5 years. So they came, it was the Depression, and the husband, Ed, he got a job with an orthopedic shoe company. And so they came from the East Coast, and they were in Portsmouth, but only for a few years. And in fact, at the time of the flood, the father and husband is not in Ohio at all. He's in California for business. So Mary, his wife, actually describes him getting out of quite a bit of work because all the other shoe salesmen are busy packing up the shop and moving things. And that's sort of one of the things that this collection points out, is the way family members are trying to connect with each other at a time of disaster.
Right, I see a telegram here. Who is this telegram to?
Yeah, so the telegram is from Mary's sister in Boston. She writes to the Portsmouth police and asks if they can check with E.L. Kimball, the father of the household, to ascertain if his family is okay. And on the back of the postcard is a handwritten response from the police that say, well, we checked in with the Kimball family. Father's not there, he's in California, but the mom and children are okay. And so they cable that back to Boston. And this is dated, this is January 27th. Mary starts writing her account of the flood to her sister before that, but she includes in that account, she says, like, I know this letter's not gonna make it to you. I see the bags of mail in the post office and we're watching the waters rise. So it won't get there until, probably a few weeks after this.
Now, I think it's interesting how they did write on the back. So that's the police department that wrote on the back, and they were okay, weren't they?
Yes, they were okay. They brought in refugees from elsewhere in Portsmouth. So the letter actually talks about the children of the family having to sleep together because they're going to invite other families to stay with them. Mary writes to her sister, she says, I put Em in Kim's bed today in my room and expect 2 refugees tonight to stay with us. So Em is Emily, she's 9 years old at the time of the flood. Kim is her older brother. And Emily is actually the donor of this collection. So she's 9 when she goes through this experience, and when she's 90, she's the person who has collected her family's memory of the flood and has given it to a historical society.
So this is just one collection from 1937 flood. Do you have others that have been given to you?
Yes, we do. We have at least one other first-person account of this particular flood in Portsmouth. So that's what's nice in terms of building a research collection, is making those connections. So in addition to the newspaper accounts and the photographs, you might have a small constellation of these primary sources.
So this is from the Portsmouth flood of 1937. It's kind of older, but there are a lot of newer events that are happening. What is your perspective about how important it is for people to sort of write down and keep their memories of these important events?
It's remarkable when you have a collection where someone is living through something and writing it, that daily diary, which effectively this letter is, versus living through it and then taking the time and having the mental space to record your experience of it, right? So let's say with the COVID pandemic, a lot of institutions, ours included, put out calls for people's firsthand accounts. Some people were ready to share that and some folks weren't, right? And that probably depends on their experience. But there's also this sense that we're not necessarily out of it, right? That is an ongoing thing. So I think it's that balance of having the space to it's a privilege to think about putting your things in a historical society, right? As opposed to saving what you can in the moment and trying to communicate with your loved ones in the moment, which is, I think, why this is so, such an evocative collection to me, because you can see these sisters trying to connect. So I think that remains true, certainly through other events.
Well, I love this, and thank you so much for sharing this collection with us. I think it really sheds light on a time in history not a lot of people don't know about, but really impacted, especially Portsmouth. So thanks again for inviting us into the vault.
Thanks so much for coming.
Passing down stories from generation to generation is a key part of preserving family history. In our next story, one woman wanted to make sure her son stayed connected to their Andean heritage, so she got creative and wrote a children's book for him. Thanks to that experience, she is now teaching others how to pass on their family roots to generations to come.
We don't just come up with narratives about our ethnic heritage or our cultural heritage. We live it every day. We live it in our homes, with the little things that we put around us, with the music that we play, potentially with the books that we read at night to our kids, or the stories, the anecdotes that we share about our family, right? That bring us a little bit closer to them, even though they're miles and miles away. I grew up in Ecuador, and during that time that I was growing up, there was actually like a national policy of mestizaje. So a lot of our education was about just focused on the urban areas, focused on a very outward Western or European view. We didn't really learn that much about our own country. And so it was when I came to the United States, I was at University of Texas for college, that I started learning much more about my country, about indigenous cultures there, about the multiple languages that are spoken there. It was interesting. It was sort of a combination of curiosity and amazement, and also a little bit of embarrassment that I didn't know that about my own country. That kind of, I think, led me down the path of ethnomusicology and anthropology. I'm also the author of this children's book that's called On the Wings of the Condor. My thought behind the book was that, like me, there are many kids that grow up far from their countries, from their cultures, and feel somewhat disconnected. So it was sort of an attempt to tell the story of my son Kai and to connect that in some ways to family history, people that passed away, some of them before he was born, and also to connect it to like a cultural history. Let him know that he has roots in this culture and that he knows things about this culture. I traveled to Cusco and to Machu Picchu specifically for the anniversary of my father's passing away. So it was the 20th year of his passing away, of his anniversary, 2007. And I was pregnant with Kai in my second trimester, and decided I needed a little bit of that cariño andino, you know, during that special time. And that's kind of where the book was born, you know, sort of documenting this journey that I was doing for myself to honor my dad, but also to sort of introduce these two souls that were not quite in this world somehow, but connected in many ways. And I just did a Word document, and just embedded the images in the Word document, kind of laid it out, very, very simple. And then our librarian at The Ohio State University, Pamela Espinosa de los Monteros, she looked at it and she encouraged me to go ahead and publish it. So then I turned it into a book, just a self-publishing, but the book might have a future with a children's press at some point. It is sort of a love letter for Kai in many ways. Okay, so On the Wings of the Condor. And I have a little dedication here that says, with love for Kai, because every child has an epic story. Although you were born a proud 7th-generation Texan, your father and I sensed early on that you might have an Andean soul. So when you were just a tiny baby in my belly, you and I embarked on an important journey to the heart of the Andes, the land of our ancestors. We would journey to a place high up in the clouds from where we could send a message on the wings of the condor up to Huapacha, the world above where spirits dwell, and to Chayshukpacha, the time-space where ancestors live and watch over us.
She brought the book out, and I was sitting with my grandma on the couch. And, you know, all this stuff was going on, but it was kind of like it was just me and my grandma and my mom in that moment, us three. And we read the whole book, and I was, you know, and by the end of it, I was so touched, like tears were like streaming down my face. It touched me that my mom talked about me and like wrote this book to further connect me to my roots. And I think that was just a very powerful moment for me. And she would tell me stories growing up about, you know, Ecuador and just stories of her growing up, and I always wanted to know more and learn, like, dive into them.
Kai has grown up around these things, and he recognized them as he read the book. And also his friends who come around the house, when they looked at the book, they also recognized some of these things in the house. So it is a way of bringing sort of an element of culture around us by way of these little things that are just photographed and put into the book. So eventually you and I tackled a hike up to Huayna Picchu, which means the young mountain. So Machu Picchu means the old one, and Huayna Picchu is the young mountain. And I checked with my doctor to make sure I could hike that thing while I was pregnant with you. And a little old lady passed me on the trail. I remember that. But only a few people are allowed to make their way up this mountain each day, and we were lucky to be admitted. From the summit, you can see clearly that the city of Machu Picchu is in the shape of the condor. Can you see it? So here's the head.
There's the head, and
There's the body.
The body.
And then these are the wings.
The wings there.
Isn't that impressive?
It was us taking that journey, and like I wasn't born yet, but I was there. We went on that journey, and we have gone back and continued. I don't think the journey has ever ended with me and my mom. I think there's so much more to continue with that, and I'm looking forward to reconnecting with my culture there. I think right now is where that journey is kind of really taking off, and like where I'm going to discover things about myself.
For many of us who migrate, there's an expectation on the one hand that we should know something about our cultures, right? It's sort of embracing the fact that we don't know, that we're not just born knowing things, right? And just that the fact that we're from a place doesn't mean that we entirely understand its history, its culture. I mean, it's so profound, it really does require some level of commitment or determination to go in that direction. But we're all part of something bigger than us, right? Yeah, I think it's sort of like valuing the individual, the individuality, the amazing stories that we have, each one of us, but also recognizing that we are part of a bigger history, a bigger culture, and bringing that into our everyday lives and into our everyday sort of experiences, I think is important.
I've been equipped with knowledge about myself and my roots. And there's still much more to learn, but what I have so far, I think it's been able to build and mold me, my character. The Inca believed that the condor was a messenger between worlds. A soft wind swirled around and whispered your secret name, Kai, which in Quechua means presence, an aura of wakefulness. In this world, Kai Pacha, the world of nature.
It doesn't have to be like a masterpiece. It just has to be heartfelt. And I think that the children take it that way, right? As they sort of receive it, it doesn't have to be perfect for them. It just has to be something that they can recognize themselves in, and that they can recognize like the home that they've grown up in and realize, oh, these little things, they do connect us back to something somehow. A book always has a life after it's done. I had been asked to do a reading of the book for Hispanic Heritage Month this year. Our Bexley librarian said, no, this is like, we need to do something more than this. And so we started conceiving of a series of workshops. I used the book as a prototype or as a model for intergenerational workshop, where grandparents and parents and kids work together to put together their family stories and their cultural stories, and then have a series that we can then, put in the libraries. Kids now, maybe they don't grow up with this sense of like an epic story and that they are part of that. So in that way, it was also sort of an idea of how can we share this out? How can other kids discover their stories in the same way?
Aviation history is deep in Ohio, with famous flyers like the Wright brothers, Jerry Mock, Neil Armstrong, and John Glenn all calling Ohio home. But one viewer wanted more information on a lesser-known aviation prodigy named Cromwell Dixon. The producers for Curious Sea Bus were also intrigued, so they decided to investigate. Here's what they found.
WOSU's Curious Sea Bus answers your questions about our region, its history, and its people. Jay Hoster wrote in to ask about the local history of Cromwell Dixon, a child prodigy who became the first pilot to fly across the Continental Divide. Dixon grew up in Columbus's University District, where his engineering talent made him a local celebrity. He started by building complex contraptions in his backyard, including a roller coaster and a motorcycle. Eventually, he turned to aviation. At the time, airplanes were just starting to get off the ground. Large gas-filled balloons called dirigibles were much more common. Dixon designed his own dirigible made of bicycle parts and an enormous silk balloon. He began construction of his Sky Cycle in 1905 at the age of 13. He spent 2 years perfecting the aircraft and ran test flights on Ohio State's campus. Dixon became so well known amongst the university students that he was the Ohio State football mascot in 1906, long before Brutus Buckeye was created. Funding the construction of the airship was very expensive. Most of the initial investments came from his mother, who was able to raise $10,000 from wealthy investors in St. Louis. Dixon completed his Sky Cycle, which he named the Moon, in 1907. His first flight was a leisurely hour-long float above the Columbus Driving Park racetrack, now home to the Driving Park neighborhood. After several successful flights at the racetrack, Dixon began performing daily at Olentangy Park, an amusement park in Clintonville. Over the next 3 years, Dixon took the Moon to air shows in Boston, Chicago, St. Louis, and beyond, where thousands flocked to see his Sky Cycle in action. In 1911, Dixon started a new chapter in his aviation career. He ditched the dirigible in favor of the fixed-wing airplane and became the youngest person in the world with a pilot's license. He was 19. That year, he performed daring flights at exhibitions across the Midwest and worked as a brand representative for the up-and-coming airplane manufacturer Glenn Curtiss. On September 30th, 1911, he took off from Helena, Montana, flew over the Rocky Mountains, and became the first person to fly across the Continental Divide. Unfortunately, Dixon's career was cut short by a fatal accident just 3 days later. At an exhibition in Spokane, Washington, his plane hit a powerful gust of air, flipped over, and fell 100 feet into a rocky ravine. Dixon's remains were transported back to Columbus, where he was laid to rest at Green Lawn Cemetery. Newspaper accounts of his funeral detail the boy's tremendous popularity, noting the church was completely filled with mourning neighbors. Though his career ended far too early, Cromwell Dixon is remembered today as a trailblazer in aviation history. Do you have a question for Curious C-Bus? Head over to wosu.org/curious to submit your idea, vote on which question we should investigate next, and see what we've covered so far.
These particular set of images are from a folder of the Short North. Here in my hand, I actually have the, at 1209 High Street, this is the Presto Lounge. What I remember from the Short North in the 90s was sort of a grimier, a lot of bars, a lot of head shops and things that you would think college kids would be into or local townspeople would be into. So I always think about, you know, someone like my grandfather drinking at a place like Wick's Lounge or the Sandbar. So I just love the pictures, all of the brickwork, the buildings that just aren't here anymore, or the buildings that are here but have been redeveloped. Here we have the burlesque building here. That was the Garden. Garden's still around, but it was the burlesque building at the time. We also have another picture of the Short North Tavern, 660 and 662 North High Street. Great photograph of that. I love the residential in the Short North. So we have, this is a section in the Short North that I don't believe is residential anymore. So it's townhomes that were, you know, very close together. At that time, there was a lot more residential on North High Street. The Press Grill, which obviously is a very popular restaurant and bar that a lot of people still know about today. And lastly, the Yukon building, which I think is just a great building. Here's a great shot of it at the corner here. It seems like a lot of this was going through changes at the time. I see a lot of construction of the sidewalks going on, so it seems like they're building the infrastructure before they're starting to make changes to the actual streetscape of the buildings. Not very often that we have an entire collection of a whole street just going down the street and them taking photographs. And I believe these were taken by David Lucas, the Columbus city photographer at the time. Anytime they were doing redevelopment, he would go down the streets and take photographs of different buildings. So this is just one box of many that we just go down the street and they just took photographs of, and now we have all of the negatives and the prints. So it's just a great collection.
Thanks for being with us. And remember, you can catch all of our episodes on YouTube or columbusneighborhoods.org. Plus, see our stories on the WOSU mobile app. And you can follow us on social media. We'll see you back here next week on Columbus Neighborhoods.